Hi. Many of you I already know. My name is Robin Bauer, and I'm mayor of the town of Clarkdale. I've been mayor just about 2.5 years. This is my first term as mayor. So I'm really pleased to be here and always talk about my town. I'm going to tell a little bit of what's going on in Clarkdale. Then what I like is for you to ask me what you want to know that I haven't said about, or you've seen something, I'll try to answer it. So a little interactive also, that would be great. I handed out to all of you a little bit of promotional stuff around Clarkdale. I'll get it to Mark, you were late, so you know how that is. One thing, there's my business card in there. If you ever have a question about Clarkdale, go ahead and send me an email, call me. I respond to everything that comes in. And it doesn't matter if you live in Clarkdale or not, just because you know me, you got a question, ask. Okay, I'll get you the answer. Clarkdale is top of the Verde Valley. Clarkdale is a true gem of Arizona. The history and charm of downtown Clarkdale is not just in the nostalgia of past times alone, as it is a thriving community filled with growing families and retirees. So we're seeing everybody in town. Our current population is approximately 4,900. During the height of the smelter history, this is a little trivia, the population was around 5,000 in an area much smaller than the current 10.3 square miles of the town of Clarkdale. So basically made up of upper and lower Clarkdale at that time, and then little surrounding pockets was that population. Today we're almost there again at that 5,000 and growing. Our 111-year history as a copper mining smelter town where people could work, live, and play is represented in our town's vision, connecting our unique history, proximity to the Verde River, and a small town charm to a future with a vibrant economy. Clarkdale has a very large historic district, which includes approximately 385 structures, including homes, commercial and industrial buildings, a town hall complex, a gazebo, and a bridge. Kayaking, canoeing, fly fishing, picnicking, birding, and hiking all provide fun experiences for the whole family along Clarkdale's two access points to the Verde River. We have one at Tuzigoot and then one further upriver called Lower Tapco. As we know, the Verde River is one of Arizona's perennial flowing rivers. We're also the gateway, and I say gateway, to wonderful outdoor experiences like Sycamore Canyon Wilderness Area, Tuzigoot National Monument, and Mingus Mountain. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that Clarkdale is on the ancestral lands of the Yavapai, Apache, and Hopi people. They provide us with a rich history of thriving communities along the Verde River. If you go look through history, you can see it was a very vibrant place for all who lived there. And by the way, if you've seen that little development going on Broadway, that's the lower road. That's a new hotel going up in Clarkdale. It's a 44-unit hotel. It's being built by the Hopi Economic Development Corporation for the Hopi tribe. So it's their first building off of reservation. They own a hotel in Village of Oak Creek, and they have some on all of their properties. This is their first one off property. So that's really wonderful. It's called the Tawaki Inn, which is the House of the Sun. It is being built very much in the Hopi style. So it's really exciting to have them here. They are very excited to be here. And we look forward to it opening, well, I think probably by next summer. It should be open by then. I just watched the other day and the walls are going up, so that's exciting. Clarkdale is also in the heart of the wine country. Yes, Cottonwood has the I'm in the heart of, but we're also in the heart of, in that we are the home of the Southwest Wine Center at Yavapai College in Clarkdale. I say that because people say, oh no, it's in Cottonwood. Oh no, it is in Clarkdale, and I'm very proud of that. There are 3 award-winning wineries, one fabulous brewery in Clarkdale, which is fabulous. If you haven't been to Smeltertown, you need to go try their beer. They're also serving wine there too from our local wineries. Clarkdale also has the only rail line in the Verde Valley. It's owned by Arizona Central Railroad. Not only does the rail line carry our tourist train, which is Verde Canyon Railroad, but it also carries a very important and ever-expanding freight operation. This is going to be really important to the whole region. I don't think people know, but Salt River Material Group, Phoenix Cement, probably now about 25% of their product is now going out by rail instead of by the trucks going down through Cottonwood and out to I-17. So, wow, a lot is going on. So that's a little bit of our history. Over the next 5 years, I wanted to just touch and tell you what's going on. Over the next 5 years, Clarkdale is investing over $70 million in capital improvements in maintaining our infrastructure, which is our roads, water, wastewater operation, parks, broadband, and other needed items for our growing community. Look at that number, $70 million. That's a lot. Let me give you a few highlights of what's going on right now. Because this year we have in our budget allocated, we have projected $19 million in capital improvement projects, out of that 70, so that's big stuff. We're building a new bridge over Bitter Creek. Bitter Creek is the creek that runs between most of Clarkdale and our industrial area where you go to Verde Canyon Railroad, to give you that. And why are we doing that? Well, we have this little 105-year-old historic bridge, one lane. Really hard to get items in and out of that area, particularly trucks. And for, especially for the freight operations, and for at least one, if not 2 companies down there that are doing pretty high-end precision machine parts for companies across the country. That's Verde Machine. That's really hard to get in and out of there. So we're building a new bridge. We're not sure which side of the old bridge it's going to be, but that's part of our process right now of designing it.
Robin, who's paying for it? Who is paying for it?
We have a $6.3 million allocation from the state of Arizona through the state legislature this year. That money is in our bank.
Nice.
Yeah. We worked very hard on that because this allows economic development, economic expansion in what is already an identified industrial area, particularly with Arizona Central, the owner of the rail line. They want to see, they have plans to do freight expansion.
So it's a partnership between the town of Clarkdale and the railroad?
Pardon me?
There was a partnership between when we did your lobbying to get this money?
We, the state of Arizona, the legislature this year had money that each legislative district was allocated, and we worked with Selena Bliss and Ken Bennett to get it. We had it in a bill form. It was moving along really well, and then they went through this allocation where everybody could have it allocated out, and it was Ken Bennett's allocation.
So was that the same fund that the Prussian rodeo was getting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
Just wondering if any of that would be able to go to the gazebo, or what's the status on that?
We'll get to that, sweetheart, okay? but thank you for asking. So I just wanted to touch on that because the bridge is really important to, not just to Clarkdale, but to all of the Verde Valley. We are having 2 parks revitalized. Caballero Park down in Patio Park is being redone with CDBG funds. They start breaking ground on that this in October. And Selma Mangini Park, which is the park that you see as you go towards Verde Canyon Railroad, is getting completely redone with funds that we have in from Arizona State Parks and the National Park Service water conservation funds. Both parks are in design. One is getting started, the other one should be started next year, and that's a huge, it's a completely redesign of those 2 parks. And we also took over the upkeep of a park over in the Crossroads area, neighborhood of Clarkdale, called Copper Penny Park. So I'm always proud to say we're the home of 7 parks for 4,900 people. That's not too bad at all. Yeah, it's really pretty good. Phase 2 of upgrading Broadway is going to get completed within the next year. That'll continue the bike and the sidewalk and bike lane all the way to Cottonwood. So we know that the cycling clubs, the Cycle Coalition is really happy because now it'll be safe. Once we get that in, then they can ride all the way through Clarkdale into Cottonwood on a safe route. Revive the restoration of the bandstand. The work is underway as soon as we have a second, more comprehensive assessment that is just got completed. We're having to go back and get a recost on some of it because of some major structural issues that were found on the reassessment. And the work will get underway as soon as we get the final bid. Money's in the bank. That's what I tell people. Money's in the bank. It was budgeted. It's coming out of our general fund. We felt it was that important to get it done. Other big, small and large projects that are slated to be done on our water and wastewater systems. Yeah, we have a 100-year-old system. Clarkdale was a master plan community, and the uniqueness of it is that it had both water and sewer put in when it was built in 1912. Well, over time, you know, that 112-year-old system starts having some major issues. We're going to be looking at replacing lines, installation of a redo of our arsenic removal system, expansion of possibly a new well with the building of a new well. Let me talk about water in a general sense. All of our recent water data indicates that we do have sufficient amount of water to accommodate our future growth. That's really important. But and that's great, it's wonderful, it's all in our general plan, but we would be irresponsible for us to grow without a solid plan for water conservation, water reuse, and water stability, I call it. We're currently assessing all of our water resources to make sure we're making a move in the right direction for the future. One of our water conservation projects getting done this year is that we just received a grant to complete, to put in basically what that's called smart water meters for every household and business in Clarkdale. And it's a way of being able to tell the resident or the business owner, you got a leak immediately. They don't have to wait a month when we read meters and they find out they have this huge bill because they have a leak. They'll be notified immediately, either by us or you as a homeowner or a business owner can monitor it yourself and find those leaks too, which is really important. That's a water conservation project because if we can stop leaks, we don't lose water. We've done really good over the 20 years since we bought the water company. When we bought the water company, leakage out of the system, was somewhere around, take a deep breath, 40%. That means it was leaking badly everywhere. We're down to about 8% today. And we'd like to get down further, and that's because we've done a lot of work on making a replacement of lines and stuff like that. So this is one thing. We are going to be looking at putting a new well in somewhere. We're not sure yet, and it's not because we need more water. We need a redundant system. Currently we have 2 well sites. If one of the wells go down, which it did, about 6 weeks ago, we lost a pump. At the old Haskell Springs well, we lost a pump. That means we're down to 1 well. It's not that there's not enough water coming up. We don't have enough holding capacity. We can only hold enough water for about 3 days until we get that other system up. We need another well online so we have redundancy. So if we get 1 well goes down, 2 wells are operating, we can keep enough water in the system until that well gets back up. And that happens. I have learned more about water, wastewater, than I ever thought I would know.
It's Arizona.
It's Arizona, it is. We've all talked about it, but I've learned more about how much water do we have? Well, it depends. We have water in the ground, we have water in tanks, we have water in the system. How is it being used best? So it's really quite an interesting process on all of that.
So are these smart meters, are they gonna be accessed through our phones?
You will be able to download an app
Okay.
to follow your own water meter, yes. And also we are working on applying for a broadband grant to get all of our dark areas of Clarkdale. We have like spotty dark areas, but they're pretty significant, covered. You know, Arizona got almost $1 billion allocation for broadband. From the federal government. Yeah, we're going after that money. That's one thing that we do.
Robin, does most of that have to go to the Native American population?
No.
40 billion?
No, they have their own allocation. They have their own allocation, so no, it does not, that's not, but we are working with them to make sure we have coverage. It always strengthens your grant application if you have partnership with your Native American community. We just are finishing up, we actually submitted a grant to finally get a sidewalk down Clarkdale Parkway. How many times do we see people walking down that road? It's something we've wanted for a long time. It's a very expensive little walkway to build because we have 2 washes that run on either side of it. It's and just barely enough width to put a sidewalk in. We submitted that grant 3 weeks ago. We found out we made it through the first round, so we're into the second round. It's great. That's great. That comprises, you know, some of the big projects we're doing. There's, as I said, we have a $19 million capital improvement plan. That means we've approved it at the council level. That means it's funded in some way, shape, or form, through general fund, through other state allocations, through other revenues, and through grants. 12 million of the 19 million is grants. Lots going on in Clarkdale. We're growing. We need to.
How many new houses? How many new houses have been built in the last 5 years, 2 years, this year?
Oh my gosh, you're asking me numbers. A lot, because those two developments that you see, both Mountain Gate and Crossroads. And some of you who have lived here for a while know, Both of those were platted almost 15, 20 years ago. And they stopped building because of the recession. So we've seen a lot of build outs started since about 2015 on both of those. We haven't seen any huge projects into Clarkdale. We have a 52-unit townhome, a project that'll be breaking ground as soon as they get their contractor paper signed with who's ever going to construct it. And we have in pre-development about a 238 unit development. That'll be apartments to small homes, not big home complex. And that kind of is where I want to end. We're doing great, right? But I wanted to talk about this situation because it is of concern, and everybody needs to be a part of that, and that is our housing situation. We need housing for all. Tanya's sitting here. When firefighters, police officers, teachers, government employees from your town crew and to your department directors cannot find housing in or near the community they work in, we have a crisis. And Arizona is in a crisis. Clarkdale's in a crisis. The Verde Valley is in a crisis. So every community needs to explore ways to increase their diversity and availability of housing for all who work and live in the Verde Valley. And it's not going to be just single family, large lots. It's going to be townhomes, it's going to be apartments, it's going to be small, more dense housing complexes. Understand that the original town site of Clarkdale, each one of those lots were only somewhere around 7,000 square feet. We can do it. We can do it. We have some projects in the pipeline. Cottonwood has projects in the pipeline. We all have projects in the pipeline, but we need to do more. So I'm asking all of you today to be part of the discussion and solutions for ensuring that we have housing that we need today and for the future. I don't want to have to grow up old here and there's nobody to take care of me. And that's what's happening. I have to tell you from the perspective of a mayor, when we're trying to grow staff. We need to. We're not adding a lot of people. But when we make an offer to somebody, we almost have to ensure that they either live here in the region, or that if they're coming here, we can find them someplace to live. That's hard. Every community around the state of Arizona is facing this. I think we can work on it here in the region. So I want to make sure that's what I look at, is that our legacy is of a vibrant, thriving future for all who want to live, work, and play, not only in Clarkdale, but the Verde Valley. So all of you, the public, you need to help, because we can't do it alone from an elected position. So, questions?
Just have a comment. Thank you for addressing housing, because a lot of times people don't address it, but we can't have a thriving community without diversity in housing.
Absolutely, Tommy. Yeah, I know that. And there's a lot, people will say a lot of it is zoning issues. I will tell you, I don't see that as the major issue. I was just at the League of Cities and Towns conference, and there was actually a developer who was speaking at one of the meetings, and he said, zoning's not an issue. We work through zoning all the time. What they said is resources, getting people to build those projects, and the materials that they need to build those projects. That's what
And costs.
it costs, and it is a cost issue. There is no doubts about that. So, and that might moderate over time. We have beauty here. We all came here from someplace else. Yes, I live on 1 1/3 acres because 26 years ago when I moved here, there wasn't much else available. Would I live on that today? No. I'd love to have a much smaller piece of land. We're rural, but we're still a growing urban small town, and we will be. Questions?
Can you tell us more about the gazebo?
What about
I
it?
wanna know well, you're talking about doing it, but are we rebuilding, are we tearing it down?
No, it was never going to be torn down.
So just explain, because I know there's a lot of discussion.
Yeah, there's been a lot of
We've lost-
discussion
we've
about
lost
it.
the idea, yeah, so I wanna know what's the
You
real
know,
information?
it's words, it's, a lot of it
Yeah.
is words.
It's gonna be a.
What's the real information? Yeah.
It's being restored, using as much of the material in it as we can to make it a safe, public facility that's accessible to all. And that's, and those are, when I say safe, it's, first of all, it's a public facility. That means everybody, it's open to the public, needs to be accessible to all, and it needs to be safe. Those are the 3 criteria. So any work that gets done on that has to meet that criteria. Parts of it have been replaced a lot over the years. There's been, we've had to do a reassessment from the original assessment that was done on it, because there were some major deficiencies in the first assessment, which was hard to see. But it will be done. It is, the last assessment, when they had everybody in town for that, it was, the contractor, the historic architect, the engineer, 5 members from SHPO, our town building inspector, our town public works director, our town community development director, and town manager were all there. And so the report that came out is very extensive of what can be done. So it's going to look the same, but we're going to replace the things that have to be replaced. 20 years ago, who was here 20 years ago? When we went through this again, the last time, we didn't do some things we should have done then. We put back posts, or we allowed posts to stay that were already having dry rot, termite intrusion. We used a process to stop it, but that only lasts so long. We replaced stairs that were later replaced just 10 years ago. Why is all of this happening today? Because we're using it all the time. If you go back in Clarkdale's history, it wasn't used like it was today. Where did people, for years and years in Clarkdale, way back, well before me, well before most of us in this room, where was the center of activity for Clarkdale? It wasn't up at a town park. It was at Peck's Lake. Because Peck's Lake had the golf course, it had the pavilion, it had
Submarine races.
all those sort of things. Exactly, all of that happened down there. So stuff that happened up in the town park was less, it was more formal events, maybe somebody special coming through town. So you didn't see the kind of activities we see today. What we see today are 7 concerts in the park, a Halloween, all sorts of things that go on. Christmas, that means heavy use, going up and down those stairs, and just heavy use in general. So the use of that facility has changed a lot. So we need to make sure that the stability of it is long lasting, so that we aren't here again in 15 years having this same debate. We shouldn't have a debate.
And you're making it ADA accessible?
Yes, we're not sure what that's going to look like yet. We need to get through this part, where there's some designs being worked on that we have not seen to make it ADA accessible, yes. And it's not just for ADA, it's also to get all the heavy equipment up and down, so you don't have to go up the stairs, so we don't have to have the degradation we've seen over and replace them, even though there's going to be some structural changes to those stairs to make them a lot more stable. So, is that the long of the short answer?
Yeah,
It's going to get
I didn't know
done.
where it was, if it was still in process, you're still waiting for some quotes.
Well, we just had the second assessment. We, as I said, the contractor has to go back and do a rebid on some of it. We haven't seen that yet. We're just forthcoming, and once that gets done, we will see it, we'll approve it, and move on forward, because I said the money's there. We want to get it done. We need to get it back up into operations. Yeah. Yes.
So there's land being cleared, on 89A, what is that?
I have no idea, because that's in Cottonwood.
No, that's on the Clarkdale side.
No, that's not in Clarkdale. That's at Scenic, when you go, that stretch all the way down to Black Hills Drive is all in Cottonwood. So I have no idea. Does somebody else know what's going on there?
Somebody told us mini storage, but I don't know if this.
That's what I've
Across
heard
the other
too.
side.
There's another hotel going in,
That's why, yeah, man.
and then I think the Vineyards might be doing something.
No, this is across the road from the vineyards, this is on the west side. They've cleared all that land. Does anybody know? Mark, do you know? Ah, come on.
Because I thought that was
Put it in the
commercial
folders.
originally for a shopping center,
No.
but, well, there was one planned along there, and
They're, in Crossroads, when you go off of Scenic and Crossroads, that first area there is, commercial. Yeah.
Crossroads is the house in Square.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I'll be happy to answer. As I said, you're welcome to contact me anytime, find out what's going on. I'm more than willing to, yeah.
What's happening with soil mitigation with this?
The soil mitigation, they are moving along a lot quickly. I think they're down to somewhere around about 200 sites that need to be soil replaced. It's gone very well. They've worked it very, very well. It's been a real good process and a real good outcome for all of us. So it's just moving along. And I hear that maybe they're talking to Jerome next, so that's what I've heard. But they think in a couple more years yet, yeah.
Is that still that company that's been here for a few years, that's from out of town, that comes in and does this wheel?
They are contracted through Freeport McMoran to do it, because it's Freeport McMoran that is voluntarily doing this program. So they run the project, Freeport does, but they bring in a crew to do it, yeah. And actually, this is the second crew. The first crew left before COVID, we stopped during COVID, and the new crew that came in is, actually, they're really good. They work very diligently. They've moved a lot of properties through the removal process since COVID, which is amazing. Yeah.
What about your Clark clubhouse?
What about it?
area? Is it still used? Is
Oh,
it-
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Oh, yes, yeah. That's cool, because let me tell you that one, the auditorium, how many of you know the auditorium only had evap cooling in it? So it was like usable like 4 months a year, or 6 months a year? Not anymore, fully air conditioned. It's usable 12 months a year. So, yeah, so we definitely use it a lot for events, people can rent it. We have the view deck in the back where the swimming pool used to be, so you can do outside events there also.
is the whole building now usable? Or is it kind of like some of it blocked off?
The whole building's usable. Yeah, the whole building. The only room that isn't available to public is is the reading room, only because that's got a lot of the historic files from the company town are still in there.
Is
But
that owned by the city then? Is that owned by Clarkdale
Yeah.
City or by the?
oh yeah, the whole complex there is owned by the town of Clarkdale. Yeah, all of it is owned by us. Yeah, that was turned over to the town years ago. Yeah. Yes, Mark.
All right, I got 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, has there been any discussion, and maybe it's not even a discussion, but any discussion about making X-Lake a usable resource again? And the second question is, I know that some other municipalities are starting to try to look into the idea of converting some of their assets into housing for employees. Are we looking at that?
Let me start Peck's Lake. No, there's no discussion. Freeport, McMoran owns that area. They're not interested in a whole lot of discussion right now on any of that stuff. And we have so much to do, so we haven't been able to really focus on that area. Yes, actually, Mark, that's a really good question. We are looking at some of our assets for possible housing. Currently, Clarkdale has about 100 acres actually down in the industrial park, the industrial area, that we are looking at possibly doing some housing down there. We're not sure yet. We have most of our stuff, Clarkdale doesn't own a lot of land. That 100 acres is our biggest piece, so we don't have a lot of places to develop that. So working with property owners to promote smaller lot development is the way we're looking at doing that, and encouraging people to look at housing, townhomes and things like that. We are also redoing an ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units in the town. We know they exist already. So might as well just bring them out in the open. Why? To make sure that they have the right electrical, the right plumbing, the right access, that they're safe for people to live in. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's, just one of the tools that we need. Yeah, yes.
Sorry, follow up one to the other 2. So there's some people that are interested in doing little tiny home subdivisions. What's the town's take on that so far?
Well, we have one that if he would get financing, will get done.
So you have something that accommodates.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
To your point earlier, you can work through zoning issues. Right?
Pardon me?
I said to your point earlier, you can work through zoning issues. So
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, we have a great little development that's on the books. He just hasn't gotten financing for it, and it would be like a 22-unit tiny home village, which would be great. I have no problems with that. I have absolutely no problems with that. Again, building a diversity of your housing stock is really important for all ages, And so, yes, those discussions we will continue to have, and looking for any tools that we can to build affordable housing, so attainable. I usually call it attainable housing. Nothing's affordable easily. Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Mark?
You can give that guy my name.
There you go. Done business for a bank.
Well, I hope I've been able to tell you a little bit about Clarkdale, and I'm going to sit down and eat my enchilada.
It always gets going.
You're welcome, thank you.